Yeah, it'll be this will be like a 30 to 40-minute coffee hour. It shouldn't be that long. So, can you guys see this? Let me just give me a thumbs up or something if you can see this. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm assuming everyone can see this. This is the sales call clinic. So, how do we master objection handling and how do we use specifically Instagram? Because that's the largest business platform as of date right now. I mean, technically Facebook, but Instagram's a part of Facebook, and Instagram is where everything's shifting right now. So, we're gonna cover that. LinkedIn is also somewhere you could use this exact same strategy. So, don't just think it's Instagram, but I'm just labeling it as Instagram because that's how most of the time you've seen this happen. So again, by the way, my name is Caleb Schulke. I'm a six-time business owner and entrepreneur across multiple businesses such as e-commerce, like drop shipping. I've had a clothing brand, Daredevil, which I talk about all the time, which I sold to an investor. We have my YouTube accounts and stuff. We've had a couple service-based businesses helping people, and we started as a business called Elevate, helping influencers up their game and get more brand deals and sponsorships, which we still do with Ascend. So we help you guys get in touch with brands inside of our syndicate. So that's me. And today's guest speaker, obviously, later on the call, but you guys will could probably guess who he is. Any community updates as of this point, because I want to keep all of you in the loop. The inner circle structure changed. What we did is we took the price down, and what we're doing instead is we're offering what's called ghost consulting. And I found that a lot of you members that are working with us, like as opposed to meeting once a week or bi-weekly with me in the inner circle, which doesn't really do a lot and it takes a long time. What we're doing is we're changing that to an asynchronous model. So if you we're gonna have a success manager as well as myself that you guys, when you join, will get added to a group, and you can text me every single day on this phone right here that I'm holding, and you will be literally connected to me all the time. So if it's not me, it'll be the success manager, and basically what's going to happen is we'll talk through any issues with your business, and then if I'm talking to you directly, then because we have a lot of conversations going on in there, if it's me, I'll just give you direct advice. Otherwise, my assistant will try to really help you identify the key issue, and then they will give me all the notes, and then I will sit down and do research on your problems at a deeper level, how I would tackle it, and then I'll come up with a report that'll get sent back to you each day. And so you're getting daily coaching instead of weekly coaching, and I found that like that model, because obviously the biggest time consuming thing is having to get on a live stream and like talk to you guys face to face. So we'll do an introductory call if you're in the inner circle, but most of it will just be through text and probably some voice memos or some calls too. But you guys get way more assistance, and we drop the price, so it's insane. I'd check out the inner circle for sure. That's the best way to work with me. We're gonna talk about sales, and we gotta start with objections. Let me go back real quick to the WAP, make sure I have to like keep coming back here to make sure there's no questions or anything. Most of my questions are actually on Instagram, it looks like, and YouTube. They're asking what specifically is this going to cover on Instagram. So we're going to cover like different things, such as how do we outreach. You'll see in a second. How do we outreach? How do we make contact? How do we persuade people to get on the call? And how do we actually close that deal? Kind of the whole sales process, but just not doing it through a video chat like I'm essentially doing to you guys right now. I'm not selling you anything here because you guys are already members. This is a members only call that just happens for this week to be broadcasted, but typically there's no really push here to sell anything to you guys. Don't worry, I'm officially disarming you. But sales objections aren't simply challenges to overcome, they're powerful cues revealing exactly what your clients need. Okay. So stop looking at objections as like roadblocks. I see a lot of people like talk about them the same way they talk about that brick wall. And instead, they're just think of them like hints, right? You're playing Clue or you're in an escape room, right? Like you need a little bit of a hint, right, to figure out where to go next. Those objections, I actually look at those as good things because I know it gives me something to think about what's going on behind the scenes. So today we're going to uncover the psychology behind objections, share data-driven insights, and equip you with secrets for mastering Instagram sales exclusive to Ascend Syndicate members. But again, this one in particular will be broadcasted to multiple streams. After April ends, we're just going to keep everything inside the syndicate. In terms of this coffee hour, and we'll feature more guest speakers, such as the one we have today. You know who you are. So the first thing is diving into objections. I put that brick wall picture up. So according to research from HubSpot, over 60% of buyers will initially object at least four times before ultimately accepting an offer. But why the resistance? We'll get to that in a second. But I want you to think about that. If you're like expecting every call to close right away, think about that. If the average is 4, the like think about standard deviations on a bell curve. One standard deviation would be like 1-ish, right? So you need to be in the one, like if let's say, right, like 1.5 is like a standard deviation from four. So like 2.5 objections would be still in the normal range, kind of the extent of like 67% of people. And then if we go all the way to 99% of people, 99% of people are going to have probably like one to like seven objections, right? So you would need to be like in the less than 1% or maybe 1.5% of people on that back end of the curve to not have any objections at all. So you kind of see, like, I'm calling it delusion, right? Which is like a crazy term, but like you see how your brain can be misled there. So don't, you always have to kind of expect that they're going to happen, and it's more important that you just know how to solve them. Okay. So I just want to let you know you're not doing anything wrong if they come up. They're giving you hints at what to do next. Objections reflect underlying psychological triggers such as fear of change, risk avoidance, or uncertainty about the outcome, right? These are the biggest ones I want you to think about. A neuroscientific study published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that addressing these three hidden emotional barriers increases purchase likelihood by up to 45%. Think about that. So like if 50% is half, right? We're essentially saying that we're making someone half as likely, like half more half that, or I guess just about half as likely additionally to buy, and we're taking or we can say we're taking half of their pain away that would be preventing them from taking action by addressing these emotional barriers. Other things can be, it just could be timing, right? Like there's some things they actually mean that they're just, honest about that we can't fix. Realizing objections are emotional rather than rational shifts your perspective, right? A car purchase, guys, like the objection is going to be, well, I don't know if I can invest into this yet. My emotion isn't there. It's not strong enough to make me want to commit to the purchase. And that means that it might be out of fear, right? It might be out of scare. They might be scared, which I guess could be fear too. It could be out of like potential regret that they're worried about. So like worry. From combating resistance to guiding your client through a transformative journey is how you get over that. Okay, so let's talk about the discovery phase. So, a Salesforce analysis of 1 million sales calls revealed top performance asks 21% more open ended questions. I put a picture of a counselor or therapist here because that's essentially what I want you to think about going in. Use powerful questions like hypothetically, right? The magic wand question. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. If you had a magic wand, what's one issue you would solve immediately? What's the deeper motivation behind your goals? You notice how these aren't like, do you agree or disagree? Or like yes or no? It's an open ended question. These questions peel back surface layers, exposing the true motivations and barriers, right? 80/20. We want to talk about 20% of the time and let them open up about 80%. And I would say out of the conversation in deeper level thinking, 80% of that should be done by the consumer because of the 20% great questions you're asking. So now we got to talk about clarity in those questions. Data from Gong.io highlights that clearly structured presentations decrease buyer objections by 30%. Just like something like this, guys. Just use a Notion template, be clear. But obviously, we're talking about the DM. So how we're going to do that is going to be slightly different. And that comes down to presentation on social media a lot of times. So a secret to clarity is visual storytelling and really coming up with a strong posting structure. Use success-driven anecdotes to vividly connect your offer to client dreams, right? You always see that connection to like the new car, right? Like, what is that going to do? How is that going to get you, one up with the ladies, right? Like, it's about the bigger thing, like, than just having an automobile to take you to work and back. The salesman knows that. And that's why they'll ask you questions like, do you have kids? Well, imagine the features your kids are going to get to enjoy, right? That's a good emotional feeling, knowing that you can provide more as a parent. So, like, you're playing on those emotions purposely because they want to put that feeling of that future life and the positive outcomes in your mind, not just the functionality. So imagine not just achieving your goal but experiencing it vividly, just like our client Ava, who doubled her income and reclaimed weekly hours for family. So that could be just like an example. I don't know Ava, this is just made up. Even though I have many testimonials, this is not one of them. So I'm just giving you like an example. The secrets of mastering common objections. So how do we get into this stuff? When someone says it's too expensive, right, they're actually expressing doubt in perceived value. The phrase not now often hides anxiety about the immediate impact or disruption. So, your job with that is to reframe their hesitation with reassuring clarity and powerful examples to back the fact of why this emotion actually isn't as bad as they think it is or likely to happen at all. So, to do that, we need to address objections before they arise. My image did not come out here. I guess it's not even high quality, but you can see psychologist Robert Cialdini found preemptively addressing objections increases persuasion effectiveness by 25%. This is the book Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. I read this actually in college. Shout out to my Power and Influence business. I guess this is like a senior level course I took. So he made me read this book. It's amazing. It gives so many case studies on how people work and think. And I would very much recommend you read this. It's one of the most transformative books you can read on sales. You can't see it right now, but just look up Robert Cialdini, Cialdini, and you'll have an amazing experience reading that. So, again, revealing typical objections or offer transparent solutions immediately. So you could say something like, at first, Emily doubted investing her busiest season during her busiest season, but she streamlined the system as we implement. Wait, the streamlined system we implemented saved her countless hours and boosted sales dramatically. So something like that, right? So you could say, you know what, what this is getting at is other people have related to your problem. That's that first part right here. But because of that, because of what we provided, she actually didn't have the same outcome as every other person that you hear struggle with this. And you know what, guys, what does this sound familiar to? It's the Instagram bio that we came up with. I help blank person, which is Emily, right? Or you could say like people like Emily, so you can categorize her. I help 25 to 30-year-old women with kids or whatever, moms with kids, invest, right, without spending hours figuring out patterns and analyzing the market. That could be your Instagram bio, and that's automatically preventing this objection. That's why we word our bio in the way I told you lesson and lesson before. So let's talk about the Ascend syndicate and kind of what we work on. This is what I recommend for you guys. This isn't like, I'm not like selling you. This has nothing to do with buying into the Ascend syndicate if you're not a member, because this is a public lesson. This is like level concepts we'll cover inside the syndicate in future lessons, which will be private if you are a member. So I'm just letting you know kind of how the structure works. But for right now, this is all public access to you guys. So secret number one is leverage Instagram stories with subtle calls to action. I have missed the ball on this so much, but Instagram stories have always been the way to grow, because Instagram stories are like real, right? You don't spend a lot of time, you don't edit them in TikTok and then upload them a lot of times. You just post like a picture of whatever you're doing, like this coffee. I'll just post whatever now. I'll post my Fiji water bottle and say like staying hydrated or something crazy like that, just so people can know that I'm active on the app. But more importantly, the more you post on your story, people can see that you're real, that you're living day to day life, and the Instagram algorithm can pick up on the fact that you're a real person because you're not editing or hyper editing a lot of videos. You're taking them inside of the Instagram app, which it knows is like its own camera, and you're just posting them from there. So Instagram knows that it's real. Okay. So I would recommend using Instagram stories. And then what I do is like put like a slider on. So like yesterday I posted a picture. It said like there's a dog inside of my barber shop. I'm going to try to show you it actually, the actual picture. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to go back to, this is a dog. And I just said in the barber shop, I was like dogs in barber shops question marks. And I just had a fire emoji, and then I let people like slide it. And the average answer was like all the way across. So like most people were like, yeah, that's awesome. So, but essentially, that's what I'm talking about. So just things that people have to react to when Instagram can see people are reacting to those things or clicking on the links or answering the polls. That's one of the biggest ways and tips I will tell you. Most other people are saying, but if you focus on this, that's what's going to be what sets you apart. Secret two is going to be humanize your content. Post showing vulnerability or behind the scenes insights create trust, significantly reducing skepticism. Okay. So what do I mean by humanizing? So showing vulnerability could mean a lot of things, right? Like I posted a video the other day. It doesn't have to insult you, but it can just kind of make fun at yourself in a way that like shows other people that you make flaws too. So I had this video the other day, and I'm going back to WAP here. It's just me like talking about locking in and being successful. And then it says, bro has ADHD. My editor made this for me. And it's actually, it ends the video by me going on my balcony here and showing the cows that are outside. Like I just got 100% distracted from that. So like I'm talking about something good, right? But I'm still, showing that I'm vulnerable and I fall victim to the same thing. That was actually a really good strategic post that did well on social media, because like I'm putting an important message out there, but I'm backing it by saying that, I experienced problems with this too. So that wasn't the goal of the video, but it did result in that effect. Secret three is the DM slide technique. Engaging thoughtfully in follower stories first naturally opens high quality conversations about your offers without feeling salesy. So guys, another secret we do in the Ascend Syndicate, focus on giving other people value. This is kind of like outbound, right? So go look at other people's stories because you know who's active on Instagram and reply to them. Start conversations, and then they'll be like, oh, he's interested in what I'm doing. What is he doing? And if you're posting on your story too, they could be like, hey, I see you at the sales conference. Are you like selling anything? And you can be like, yeah, I'm actually selling this. And you start the conversation, and naturally you're in a power position because they asked you about your offer. You don't have to push it on someone else. Okay. So again, most people don't think about that stuff, but that's the best way you could go do it. These strategies are proprietary, shared exclusively within our Ascend community, and we'll focus on that with future course content. So let's talk about, I'm right on the dot, Stevie. So today's guest feature, who's our man, myth, and legend. So today's going to be Coach Stevie. I'm going to give him a brief introduction and then you can come up on the stage and talk about your stuff. I have a few points we'll cover, but Coach Stevie, I took this from your bio, by the way, on WAP, so hopefully it's accurate. But Coach Stevie's a globally recognized basketball coach, successfully mentoring athletes from grassroots to professional levels across 5 different countries. You can see him right there: US, China, Sweden, Vietnam, and Italy. So I can't wait to talk about that part of it. But he's the founder of Stroke on Trent's largest community basketball program, serving over 200 weekly participants. Stevie's methods have transformed hesitant participants into confident achievers. And from working with Great Britain's national team to partnering with NBA level staff, Stevie tackles objections daily. So I related it kind of back based on what you said to how this is relevant, turning skepticism into success. So I would like to welcome you in, and we're going to talk about different things like this. Can you get up on the screen? Do you have a way to request? I think I can pull you up here. I think we did it. I think I see you there. Let me end my screen share here, and then we'll just.
Hey, let me just do a mic check. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, man.
Fantastic. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity, first of all. So yeah, I just want to dive into probably the beginning of my story, if that's okay with you.
Yes, we are all listening, so take it away.
Okay, so I started out playing basketball when I was 14 as a way to just lose weight, really, and find a sport. I wasn't really a sporty kid, but my friend invited me to a session after school at the high school. I got there, I played for like an hour, and after the session, my heart was beating out of my chest. I'd never felt that kind of type of euphoria before. And I just fell in love from that moment on. So I decided to lean more into it and started coaching at a local club because I wanted to become a better player, but there was not really a lot of basketball coaches in my area. That led me to, I was at college at the time and I was studying actually to be a professional chef.
Oh.
And I kind of was really good at cooking and I was more good at the patisserie side, but I kind of didn't know what I want to do. And in the summer, when I finished my professional cookery degree, I got an internship in France and I worked in a two Michelin star restaurant in Bordeaux.
Wow.
Basically, I was working 15 hours a day in a really small kitchen with a head chef who used to shout and scream at us. They didn't really speak a lot of English, but that was really the first time I had been around people who had that high standards. So I did 6 months of it, and then I came back home, and I realized that that wasn't really kind of me, and I didn't want to be stuck in four walls doing the same thing every day, even though it probably would have been a financially rewarding career. And I realized that that was my dad's life because my dad actually owned a chip shop. I don't know if you know what
You said a chip shop or
a chip shop. So
I don't know what
obviously,
that is.
I'm English, and basically, you guys call them fries, probably.
Oh yeah, fish and chips.
They're like bigger fries. So he owned the fish and chip shop, and I kind of felt like I was going to live his life again. So I decided to lean more into basketball. I had a friend who told me that there was a new club starting up in Stoke-on-Trent, and he played for a coach who set the club up, and the coach had previously had a scholarship in the NCAA Division One, playing for St. John's University.
Oh yeah, March
And
Madness.
it was totally random. I was just like, where has this guy come from? Bear in mind, I'm in a city with two basketball clubs, and nobody had really made it to a high level in coaching or playing. So I'd heard a lot of bad things about this guy. His coaching style was very militant, and people said they didn't like him. But I spoke to one of the coaches at the club, who I coach with, and he said he really liked the guy and he had a lot of time for him and he believed he was just very misunderstood. So I thought, you know what? I want to learn more about coaching. I want to lean more into it. So I asked him if he could set up a conversation with him. he set up a conversation. I went to the university to speak to him, told him that I wanted to learn more about coaching and take it a little bit more seriously. And he told me to turn up next week and I could shadow him for the next 6 months, as well as like start training with him as well for free. I started training with him, started shadowing. His coaching style was very kind of American like. He used to shout and scream at players, make them do suicides, run,
Yep.
press everything, 100 press ups, 200 press ups. But he got results. And that was probably one of the first time I ever saw people elevate themselves. And it really inspired me to carry on with coaching. And I learned a hell of a lot, and I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
So I decided to try out for his team that he set up because he had a semi-professional team in Stoke-on-Trent. And I was going up against guys who were like a foot taller than me. Bear in mind, I'm barely 5'8", but he had us like shooting 300 shots a day when we trained and did S&C, and we really took it seriously like they would do in the American system. I tried out. I came first in 7 out of 10 of the fitness tests, and I got like, I think I came first in like 5 out of 10 of the skill tests as well. So
Wow.
he signed me on a semi-pro contract as a backup point guard, and I played for him for like 6 months. And on the back of that, I found out he was actually a serial entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
So he owned multiple businesses and multiple properties, and he wanted to get me involved in a recruitment business whereby we could get players scholarships. So I got involved in that and was doing that on a voluntary basis just to learn more about it whilst I was coaching. And he said to me that he was leaving the head coaching role for the women's, and he wanted me to take that over and apply for it. I was really nervous at the time, and I didn't feel ready because I'd only been coaching around about 4 years then, but at a very low level. But he pushed me into it, and I'm glad he did, because I spent 4 years at the University of Peel. And in the last 2 seasons, my team went undefeated, and I became the youngest head coach in the whole of the West Midlands to ever win a university title. After that, I got a message from somebody on LinkedIn offering me a job in America. And it was a head of operations for like a sports camp in Maine. I thought it was a scammer at first. I was thinking, why would they reach out to like a British coach when they have a ton of American coaches over there or from other countries? But then I realized somebody'd give me a recommendation, and it was actually cheaper for them to hire a British coach over an American coach.
So
So
you're saying that somebody reached out in the DMs and it actually was a success. So
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
you moved across, or
LinkedIn.
you dealt with business across the world because of somebody reaching out in the DMs. So that's how
Literally,
effective that could be.
it's been most of my blueprint. And just skipping on a little bit further afield, I went to America. I brought a very European philosophy there, where we did a lot of small-sided games and stuff like that. And they absolutely hated it at first. They were like, "What the hell is this? We're playing playground games and we're not working on the fundamentals." And a lot of my staff were playing on JUCO scholarships as well. And basically, I didn't really have the buy-in from them. But I just finished my first university degree, and I actually studied sports coaching as well. So I used a lot of research stuff whilst I was over there, which was totally different than what you see online. The environment's catching up now, and there's more stuff online like that. But it's still kind of very newish. But I've been using this research stuff for probably the past 10 years now, and I've seen really good results from it, and the players absolutely love it. So we played our first tournament. I had 8 age groups that I had to coach, and my assistants had to coach. We won everything. We absolutely won everything. And that was when I truly started to see buy-in from my coaches. And my experience got better then. I got offered the role again to go there with a pay rise, but I realized America wasn't really the place for me. And I know that sounds strange because it's the home of basketball.
Yeah.
But when you resonate with people and when you resonate with a culture, it's totally different. So I went back home. I started to coach basketball again. I was approached by some of my friends who I used to play with previously, and they asked me to open up a basketball club. So I opened up a basketball club And within 7 years, we went from coaching 10 people to now we have 155 members locally in the biggest club in the area. And we have a junior age group. We have 4 adults teams, and I also coach my own college academy as well in the area. So I bet you're thinking, how did Coach Stevie come into this? So Coach Stevie came into this because I noticed I didn't really have enough time with the club players to work on skill development when we were in season, and we could only really afford to train for around about 2 hours a week. And there was people who wanted the extra training, so I kept set up Coach Stevie as a way to kind of facilitate that. And I basically had worked in programs where I'd only had like 1 or 2 hours a week to develop players. And I kind of found my way testing 100 thousands of drills over the years and what the best drills actually were to develop the certain things. So I've had a lot of time in the lab and on the court. And now I've created a method called the game transfer training method, where I actually help players with limited time and resources to be able to develop their game in just 1 hour a week. And basically, the way Coach Stevie started was locally. So most of my clients come from obviously my basketball club and other basketball clubs around the surrounding area. And I set up like an in-person offer whereby I sell it through my social media on my Instagram. And like we're covering now, I have a system whereby I put out content. I create lead magnets, and I try and kind of get the messaging right of who I want to target my ideal client avatar. I'm not perfect at this. I'm still new to the game. I've learned a lot from yourself. Actually, I've actually been kind of like shaping my WOP based up off what you guys have got on the community section. I watched one of your live streams the other day back, and you were speaking about the ghost consulting that you were doing.
That's brand new. That's a new method. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of that.
So basically, I've decided to kind of structure my WOPs in a similar kind of style as what you recommended to Anthony. So my first WOP is a free WOP where I help players, and they have a player support chat, and I do like a weekly skills challenge with them, and I also get them to post a clip of themselves training, and I select one person now to break down that clip and give them feedback. I'm building my tier 1 WOP, which you guys have sort of done, and I've decided to do like a self-guided 12-week workout where I'll have a library of drills that people can follow, and they'll still get access to the player support. And basically they can kind of run with a 12-week where they pay a monthly subscription for that support and to follow that guide. I'm still building it out. I started it a couple of days ago, and my second tier is kind of like the full coaching Coach Stevie WOP. So the full coaching part is basically where I do like shot analysis and monthly game breakdowns where people can post their game breakdowns, and I'll give them feedback on their breakdowns, and it's like having a coach over their shoulder. Because what I find with basketball players is they're coached on the court, but when they get off the court, they still need that accountability and that coach sometimes on their side. It's basically, for me, I'm offering like a coach in your pocket. So that's kind of what I'm offering. I still haven't built it out, obviously, but I am in the process of setting up that. And what I've found so far with my game transfer training is I used it with a professional basketball player last summer. He played his second season in, I think it was France, and he was going to Greece, and he scored 14 points a game. He averaged around about 12 rebounds. He's 6'9", and he was actually a player of mine when I was 15. When he was 15, sorry. And basically reached out to me and asked me could I train him because he'd seen I'd do it on Instagram. And he actually lives down the road from me, which is really strange. And I trained him 3 times a week using the game transfer training. So we just did 1 hour sessions. Sometimes the sessions were only 45 minutes. I looked at his game and created activities out of his game tape that he needed to work on. I'm not kidding you. He had the best season of his life. He scored 26 points. He was getting 15 rebounds. And now his coach basically has let him shoot 3 pointers. And he ended up becoming the third top scorer in his league. So
Wow.
it's just phenomenal the results we were able to achieve, and he
Yeah.
speaks very highly of me now because obviously I was able to get him a salary increase as well.
Wow, that's so much. You giving me so much to first of all, like I've that makes everyone obviously you can see how Coach Stevie is his credibility is very vast in this space, but that's a lot of expertise in this industry. You've given me so many things we could piece apart here.
Yeah,
Um
definitely. I
from
have
your story
19
to
years
like
of
your we could talk about just about your WAP setup and I geek out on that. We could also talk about your results. I want to one question is like sticking in my mind from all of this. I'm trying to think of the exact wording, but I've gotten a lot of I think one of the biggest things that I think for new coaches that are in this space and that are watching on social media right now is once you have this new program and you talked about just kind of starting to build out your WAP and there's this new space, there's a new program, it can be I think everyone goes through this imposter syndrome phase of like, this is a new program, it hasn't been tested yet. It might fail. My reputation might take a dive because of it. I don't know if this is going to work for people. And then when you get that first testimonial, that kind of I think changes everything. It reassures that like you do know what you're talking about. This program actually is a way of structuring it. How would you? What was that moment? The exact moment? Was it that conversation or like what did that? When was that moment when you realized, hey, I think this program is something, and it's doing the right things compared to just taking a guess at what will work.
So it's a really good question because I was totally against the Instagram because kind of my culture is like if you talk about yourself, you're kind of bragging in the British culture. So for me, it felt really uncomfortable getting on camera and actually talking about what I knew. So I think the first I started doing it because I thought I'm at college and I record all of my stuff anyway at the academy. So
Yeah,
it was an easy way for me to get content. So I may as well just try and start editing and just put stuff out there and just document it. And it started off the idea of just documenting my stuff so I could actually learn more about my activities and be a little bit more structured. So for me, it started off being able it as a way of helping me reflect on my coaching.
yeah.
And then after that, I saw other people doing it, and I actually I follow by any means basketball. Coleman Ayers. Do you know who he is?
You said Manias?
Coleman Ayers.
Oh, no, I haven't. I don't know him. I know a
No
lot of
problem.
players. I don't know him.
Yeah, yeah. So he's basically a guy who's never played professional basketball, and
Oh yeah,
he started out training people from a really young age, and he's been able to build like a global brand, and he's one of the best skills coaches hands down in the world. I thought about his story, and I thought, do you know what? If he can do it, I can do it because I've got a similar story. I've never really played professional basketball, but I'm noticing all these results of what I've done over the years and the lives I've been able to impact. So why not? So I just thought I'll try it, and I looked at a few other people's content, and I thought, do you know what? Let's copy what they do and remodel it. So I started copying it, and then people started reaching out to me, and I was like, what? People were DMing me from California saying, do you do coaching sessions? And I was like, no, this is a scam. I thought they were going to ask for my PayPal or something like that.
yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And from that moment on, I'm thinking, this shit really works.
Isn't that ironic? Because you're like, I want to do this so that people will reach out to me. Then when they do reach out to you, you're like, this has got to be a scam. Like,
Literally, I couldn't believe it. I still feel like an imposter now a little bit.
yeah, it's still crazy, and it's just like out of all the business models, all you have to do is know what you're talking about and pick something you actually care about, which you could choose anything, and you've obviously chosen basketball. Could have chosen culinary too, but you chose basketball, and you put enough content out there, and all of a sudden people start reaching out to you, and it's like, wow, this it's like a gamble, right? You're spinning the wheel, but your post stays out there forever, and people can always see that, and like so technically, it's only really going to work to your advantage. More people are going to see it. Like this is the best gamble you can take in your life on anything because it doesn't really cost you anything except some time to put the content together and show
You're
people
right. I
what you do.
totally agree. Totally
How
agree.
this you talked. Is his name Mark Spadman? You said was the initial guy.
Do you mean the guy who I followed who inspired me?
Yeah, way back. What was the you said I probably have the name completely wrong because I
Coleman
my
Ayers, Beyond Basketball.
no, the initial guy that that first kind of meeting I wrote down way back when you were starting out. Maybe it was the guy that was very militaristic, you said?
Oh, him. So his name was like Des Williams,
Oh, I was writing down something
and he
else
played for
completely
St.
different.
John's. Yeah.
Saint. So this is a question. I ask a lot of people this because everyone has their like origin of kind of how they got in, and so I want to ask two questions. The first one is, what made you trust Des despite all of the negative things you got and heard from him? Why did you still believe in like what he was telling you to do, or like still listen to him instead of just rejecting everything completely?
Number one was the credibility that he had, and I was brought up to kind of like rather than judge people, understand them first. So I thought I'll give this guy a chance, and all of the negative stuff I heard, I always take that with a pinch of salt because there's two sides to every story, and the people who were saying negative stuff about him, they were the ones who weren't excelling and weren't ready to put the work in that he required. And basically, I realized that because I knew some of these people personally and I grew up with them and I knew what type of people they are. Because I'd spent loads of years with them and I'd played basketball with them before. So I decided to obviously go to this guy. I had nothing to lose but 2 hours a week. And then I got roped into doing 10 hours a week, which was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing because I got so much better player. I was in the best shape of my life, and I met some really good players as well who were international students from all over the world, which is how I built a little bit of my network. I think I trusted him because he actually showed that he cared about me, and he said one thing to me 3 months after training. He said, "You know what? I believe you can make it successful as a basketball coach, Stevie." And I said, I don't really know. I doubt myself. And he was like, "Okay, then what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to write a customized bet on a website that you will become a GB coach one day." And I said, "No, I'll never become a GB coach." And he said, "Okay, then I'll write the slip out." And the next day he sent me the customized bet that he put on, and he put £100 on that would be a GB coach one day. And I never believed it to this day. And last year, I became a GB assistant coach. He almost planted the seed in my head and it manifested.
Yeah, manifestation is real. It's crazy how and it kind of is like I think it relates to that like imposter syndrome thing. Like imposter syndrome is a step during that manifestation. You manifestation just essentially means you know where you know where you want to be. And when you focus on that, like then like you can like weave through the day-to-day obstacles, but you know that you're still heading the right direction. Otherwise, you're just walking without a vision and it's pitch black out. So you need to kind of know what direction you're heading, but then it makes the day-to-day obstacles still oriented toward that goal. And I think so
He
this
was
kind of leads to my other side of the question, but
he was basically the first person other than my parents to believe in me in coaching, and I felt that belief because he was a guy who although he coached people hard, he would have a joke with people and get them to tell them that he loved them. So you could feel that love from him off the court, and it was in his actions as well. He'd do anything for anybody, and I really felt that, and that was the first time I'd ever have somebody really believe in me for a big goal. And he spent some time in McDonald's with me. He said, "Let's go for a McDonald's after the fourth training."
yeah.
And he said, "Do you want to do some goal setting?" And I didn't really know what goal setting was at the time. And he asked me what I wanted to do in basketball, and I said, "I want to make a full-time living out of basketball." He wrote down step by step how I could do it and what I should do, and it was the first time I'd ever set goals. As I think I was around about 22, and then obviously the week after, he went and placed that bet on me that I would become a GB coach. And sorry, what was your question? I got lost.
I guess it's changing now. Because that was really good. That was kind of related to what I wanted to ask. But we should never really like. Sure, we should look at where other people are to kind of set like realistic goals of where we could be. But we really only want to compare our progress against our own. Just like in the gym, right? You should compare your bench against last week's bench. You shouldn't compare it to some other guy's bench who has different genetics and different things. It doesn't make sense. So, with that said, let's compare you to a different version of you. If you never had him in your life, even with all the pros and the cons, what would your life potentially look like? Do you know? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I do actually. So I'd probably be in the I'd probably be in the catering industry, or I'd probably work in sales, and I probably never would have took a sports degree. In fact, I'm the only person in my family who has a degree, and some of my aunties and uncles can't read and write as well. So educationally, I never really achieved. I actually failed high school. So the way I got into university was through my voluntary experience in basketball, and I had to take a lower course first. I never really achieved, but I probably would have seen myself maybe taking on my dad's business, which was a fish and chip shop. I wouldn't have traveled internationally. And when you talk about getting offers and stuff in the DMs, I spent a lot of my time building relationships with people on Instagram, and that was how I was able to get my coaching opportunity to go and work in Vietnam as well, which was last year. It was through social media, and I've absolutely met some amazing people, which is part of the reason why I joined the Ascend as well, to network with people. Because I've spent my whole life meeting amazing people, and they've helped me out. And I think without these people, I wouldn't be the man I am today. So I'm very grateful.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like it could be, religious, it could just be the universe. Sometimes the right people come in at that right time and change everything in our lives, or just open up the possibility or remind you of the possibility that what you want, you can actually still do what you want to do. Otherwise, you just default back to, whatever your limiting beliefs are. And but you need those people and the network, like you said, to remind yourself that those limiting beliefs are just in your own head, and they don't need to be there. And like you said, once you also pair that with the fact that, oh my God, this guy in California reached out to me, I didn't think I would ever get that. Then you're just reprogramming your mind. And once you do that, everything changes. It's,
I think it's about your environment as well. You've got to
oh
have the
yeah.
right people around you,
Yep.
speaking about this type of stuff every day. And it's something really hard that I find in my city, because it's a very industrial thinking city, and there's not much to aspire for around here. And if you tell somebody something like you're going to be a GB coach, they'll laugh at you first, and they won't ask you about it or interested. And that's the general mindset of the population around here, which is why I spend a lot of time on social media networking with like-minded people like yourself, because I need these people around me daily to fill my mind with this stuff and realize that just because they can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
How did your it's I think it's kind of like it's very inversely weighted, and it's all like it stinks because when you're trying to grow everything, all of the like resistance is on the front end a lot of times, and then once you're already big, that's when you get all the opportunities. You need all the opportunities when you're trying to like prove yourself right, but they only come after you've done it, which is very unfortunate. But like, what do you think? Because obviously, I'm sure the younger you would have heard those things that people are saying in your industrial based city, and it would have meant something differently before all of this happened for you versus where it does now. What do you think what do you think that change, or how do you think that has changed for you between those points?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I think the younger version of me just looked around me and just looked at what was in front of me. I generally think it's in a place like this, it's just because of a lack of role models. And you generally look at your parents and you think, I'm probably going to do what them do, that they do subconsciously. And I think they are your biggest inspirations when you're growing up, as well as obviously the people around you in the circles that you're in. And I think it's the stuff they teach in school as well. I don't believe schools teach you to dream, and I just believe that they set you up to work in like an industrial industry, and the skills that they teach are very outdated. And I only started to realize that when I started to have success in coaching, really, and success in professional cookery. And then I started to follow, I picked up my first personal development book actually, which was how to win friends and influence people.
Dale Carnegie. Yep.
Yeah, so I'd never read something like that before, but it was when I found out that I was dyslexic in college, which is why I'd failed educationally. I realized that my strength was actually talking to people, and I wanted to learn how to amplify that so I could gain an edge in life. Because I realized the only difference between me and somebody else is their network and the knowledge that they have,
Yeah.
and they were the simple thoughts in my mind. So I read that book and then I tried some of the stuff out. And it was weird because I used to go and just have random chats with people in a coffee shop just to
Yes.
practice the skill of talking and building rapport with people. And it would also help me in my coaching. So I guess the younger me had a switching point, and I'm going to throw something else in there, which is a bit crazy as well. One of my friends who I went to college with to study professional cookery, he actually committed suicide, and he basically did it because of a girl. And ever since then, I had like a trigger that switched in my head, and I started to take life more seriously, which is why
Yeah.
I picked up personal development books and I started to think, where is the next 10, 20 years of my life going to go, and how am I going to start taking control of what I'm actually going to do moving forward, which is why I got into the personal development stuff. And I'm kind of glad that happened to me, really, because I believe anyone who has that adversity, they can either take it in a negative way and it can break them, or it can make them. Yeah, so that's what happened to me. So I guess my younger self was a bit naive and lacked role models, but I guess growing up and stuff, things happened to me in my life where it inspired me to be better and to seek and to be more strategic.
What would you tell that younger version of yourself right now?
Stop eating so much cake.
I think that's a great lesson for all of us.
No, I'm joking.
Hit the gym
So
more. Yeah.
yeah. So I'd probably tell the younger version of myself to actually start early. And what I mean by that is kind of start thinking about what you're actually good at and try and build more self-awareness and try multiple things, because I don't really feel kids get enough chance to try multiple things to truly discover their strengths and weaknesses. So I
Yeah.
would say that I'd say try multiple things. I'd say do stuff for free. I tell all my players to go and get voluntary experience in what they want to do an internship, learn from other people. And I say spend your teenage years learning from other people who you aspire to be.
There's a couple hundred people watching across different social media platforms, and there'll probably be thousands by the time this gets actually published on YouTube. But I want to say, everyone, that's I hear that all the time. One of the biggest things is like, I wish I would have started earlier and realized this sooner. So once you have that first urge, like, explore it. Don't just say no, I can't do that. Like, actually start asking yourself, how could this be possible, instead of it's is it or is it not possible? Because otherwise you're not thinking about ways to make it happen. When you can picture that it's possible, then you start thinking about how to get creative around it. It's only I don't think there's really a life worth living unless you try to do something that is beyond your reach, because otherwise you're kind of settling with things you know are facts. But if you're not striving for something beyond your reach, how are you ever going to grow beyond your limits? And that's what we hear all the time. I'm going to ask one more question, and I think this will
Can I
be
just
a
add
little
to
bit.
what you've said, if you don't
Yeah,
mind?
of
I don't want
course.
to take the spotlight from you, because you've said something I really resonate with.
Yeah.
And I read something, I'm not sure what book it was. It was, what is the worst that's going to happen? You try a million and one things, something doesn't work out, and you know what? There's always a job waiting for you. And that
Yeah.
is the truth. You can always get a job tomorrow, no matter if it's in a supermarket or whatever. So it doesn't matter how many times you fail. As long as you're covering your bills, keeping your head above water, keep trying, because if it fails to the point where you can't do anything with it, then you can just go and get a job at wherever you want to work. That's always going to be there for you, but the time that you have ain't always going to be there for you.
That was kind of, I guess, partially my question there anyway. So I guess the
Sorry.
other what do you think, with all of this said, like, I guess to wrap up, what do you think is a big misconception people have? Maybe they're as young as like the position you started all of this in, about like how to be a great coach, and something you realized that you could leave people with.
I would say you have to have a passion for learning. the reason why I say that is because knowing what you know isn't good enough, because you cannot teach players to aspire to be greater unless you lead with that yourself. So I would say that, and I'd also say it's about the relationship. I believe a great coach builds a relationship that lasts a lifetime, and they care about the person more than sees them as just a number. And they care about their personal development and what they actually do in their life. And another thing I would say as well is just constantly learning. I mean, for example, like I spend 15 to 30 minutes a day just learning something about basketball, even if it's just a video, a blog, something like that, because I'm very competitive. But the reason why I do it is because I have an intrinsic thing in me whereby if I feel like I'm slacking with the coaching, I feel like I can't impact somebody in the best way. And that thought in my head upsets me. So in my heart, that's why I try so hard with that. So I'd say a great coach has passion. They're forever learning. They invest in their players off the court. And I'd say obviously they spend a lot of time on themselves as well, to be honest with you. And like I say, I've worked with coaches all over the world, NBA coaches, national team coaches, and just generally local league coaches. And they've just been some great people. And you can sit and have a conversation with them about anything. And most of them are just genuinely nice people who will help you out. So yeah, I think that's encapsulates a great coach for me.
I think one of my best students that I've had has said the people that make the most money never cared about the money in the first place. As a coach, you're too focused on the people and what you're doing for them, that
Yeah,
people pick up on that, and you'll have constant offers because people want the same experience. They want the experience of it not feeling like a sales call, not feeling like corporatized, feeling like they just have a person who gets them. And when you prioritize that, like you just said, you're never gonna lose in this business. I This has been a great stream. I'm gonna make Anthony watch this. He's doing some traveling this weekend, so he said he'll catch up. But to everyone that's watching, a couple hundred of you across social media and stuff, we'll probably put this out on YouTube at some point, if that's okay with you. That's
yeah, that's completely okay with me. And am I okay to plug my socials?
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you guys want play development tips and support from a coach that actually cares, then you can follow me. And my tags are Coach Stevie B-Ball. And I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I've also created my free WAP as well, which is the Coach Stevie Basketball Hub. I'm in there daily. I'm just remodeling it at the moment to make it even better. But like I say, I'm really passionate about what I do. I'm forever learning. I've spent 19 years coaching. I've worked internationally. But the thing is with me that I really pride myself on is generally just helping people.
And what time is it there right now for you, by the way? Because it's got to
It's
be.
like 5 p.m.
Wow, it's 11 a.m. here, so appreciate
Yeah,
you taking time out of your day to come do this, and this is going to be great for a lot of new people that are getting started. I think we've given them a lot of reassurance about this path, and your story has meant a lot, honestly. And I guess that's probably it. So I appreciate you being active in all the chats. We're still reorganizing things ourselves, but I have a team of people that we do work for clients that are constantly exploring the best ways to like build out WAP. So this is the place to be, to get like, this is the new update. These are the things to be working on compared to other places where you have the creators that just put out the course content and then kind of leave it. Every week we're updating our lessons. We're going to get rid of,
yeah,
older videos that aren't relevant anymore. So that's a big thing to do, like you said earlier, as coaches, is constantly learning and then putting out that up-to-date knowledge. Don't waste people's time on things that aren't relevant anymore just to show that you have experience. Let them see that from the fact that you're improving yourself. But I think we're good here. So I mean, have a great rest of your night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again. Obviously subscribe or follow, depending on the platform you're watching, and obviously follow Coach Stevie as well. Have
yeah.
a
Thanks for
great
the opportunity, bud. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
Take care, man.